All right. Hello and good day. My name is Chris Palmer with chrispalmer.org. In today's Learn SEO to start outranking 95%, 99%, 100% of other businesses trying to rank in your SERPs in Google and Google Maps through testing. That's a lot. That's a big title, right? So in any case, in today's video, what I would like to share with you are some of the tips, strategies, techniques for ranking in maps, your on-page SEO, off-page SEO, and I want to share these tips and strategies and techniques from SEO testing. So I'm going to share with you test results. These are actually going to be the slides that I shared with some conference goers in India. I guess I did another presentation, but the audio was horrible. And a few people asked me, hey, can you do that again? I like the content, but please do that again. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. Is I'm going to go through the actual slides, the test results, explain them. It's all live results, right? These are things that we deploy on either, most of the time it's going to be actual tests or experiments where we're showing the result. But oftentimes it will also be the result on the site. This is stuff that we learned that we deployed after we tested it. With that being said, here's another thing that I was asked to do, so I want to do it for you. If you go to SEO Mastermind, all right, what I want to do with you is I'll share with you the slides. Now, if you go click on free, I just uploaded it for you, and you go here, you can get the slides from this presentation. That way you could view them at your own leisure. All right. So SEO Mastermind, click on free. You can download the slides yourself. Enough about that. Let's not waste any time. Let's get directly into this. I think I'm already sharing my screen. All right. But something I don't like is this says 720. Hopefully it's good enough. I apologize. I did not change that before we started. Let's see if I could do it now. Nope, not allowed, Chris. Oh, well, sorry about that. With that being said, we have this. Let's go into here. This is the very first screen. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, you probably already know this stuff. So here's the very first test result. Does increasing GBP interactions boost what matters? All right. I put what matters inside of it's or quotation marks. Emphasize what matters to you and to your clients, or what's phone calls or whatever the KPI is. Some people want not only form fills or not only phone calls, but also form fills, or maybe they want actual jobs. But the very first thing is, hey, can we get traffic? Can we get interaction? Can we get more calls? So what we're looking at here primarily is we're looking to influence the overall interactions of a Google business profile. What I mean by influencing the overall interactions is literally interacting with the profile. So if we're able to influence the amount of times photos are interacted with, or reviews are looked at, or reviews are left, any interaction in the profile, looking at your posts, looking at your updates, your events, your offers, right? Interacting with the profile. There's multiple different interaction points, and we want to know if we influence this, will it actually increase calls? So as you can see before and also after our test, you can see the influence here. This is May. And then after we did our initial pump, we can see that we were able to increase the overall phone calls. So here's where it was when we started, phone calls, that is. This is interactions on your left, phone calls on your right. After our campaign of interaction, we were able to get an increase of overall phone calls, the things that matter. So if we're manipulating over here, did it actually influence? Did it do anything? So again, let's look at another test case. All right. Another 2 separate accounts. All right. 2 separate niches, 2 different time zones, time frames, I should say. So here we are again, 2094. So here's our interaction time. You could see where we're going up, and then we tapered it down. And we can take a look in here. So April we started. May is probably where it ended. You could see that's where it peaked out, May. And then June right after, and then July. Look at this, an uptick. And the reason is because we increased interaction, we increased the overall prominence of the campaign, right? Like, or the prominence of the actual listing. It was getting more interactions, getting more reviews, doing better SEO. And then look at that, poof, right up. Now, I don't know what happened here, but you know, when you're looking at a campaign's analytics on the month, it always shows this because it didn't populate the results yet, but still positive result. So interactions on the profile, whether you're running ads to your profile, Google ads to the profile, and anything, it doesn't always have to be manipulated. It could be bot traffic as well. It could be billboards. It could be radio ads. It could be podcast sponsorship. Anything that you can do to influence interaction can positively impact the things that matter to your business. Done. Next test. So, does adding custom services boost GBP rankings? All right. So I guess I should have trimmed these out. This is a relatively, I should have trimmed this one out, but it is what it is. I believe I showed this once before, but let's just take a look at our chart here. So we have on the left-hand side, this is the before, all right? And what we're doing here is we're actually adding a custom service to the service section, as you can see from the test, all right? So we did a before, and then we did a after, all right? With that being said, we're adding a custom service type. In this case, it's mosaic tiling contractor. And then we are looking at afterwards, after we give it the 30-day span, did it give us a boost in rankings for that custom keyword? What we noticed from this testing is we were not only during this particular key phrase test were we testing this, but we were looking at it week by week on multiple keywords. And what we quickly found out, by adding custom services, you would get a temporary lift and then it would drop after 30 days, right? Sometimes longer, sometimes earlier. But in each case, you always had a drop or it would stay neutral after an initial boost. Here's the issue though. As we were adding custom services and getting those initial lifts, those quick little easy wins, when we went and looked at the primary service type over the course of time after adding these customs, we noticed that our primary service that we were always ranking for started to dwindle in rank. Like overall places on a map where we were in position, it started losing proximity and started dropping in rank. So adding custom services temporarily can give you a boost, but over the course of time, not only will they drop, but they can also hinder your primary performance. No good. All right. Next. All right. We get this question a lot, or at least I do. And the reason for this is I spent a lot of time building stacks, creating stacks, trying to figure out, which cloud assets to use, what to interlink, how to interlink. And the long story short, at least in 2025 now, and this is what I'm going to showcase here, is that when you have a single service, single location, all right, alongside of doing your primary general citations, along with your primary general directories, and then allocating some budget and some time towards your niche directories and citations, right? So we're talking 50 citations, 100 directories, and then your niche probably 20 each, all right? So 40 more, right? Add that up. That alongside a G stack for a single service, single location business in medium to large, usually smaller areas, we have seen get great results. Now, did I ever just do the G stack? Did I ever just do this? Maybe that would have been better. But in this particular instance, this is the process for us ranking. And the reason why we do this is because it's ranked over 126 times. All right. And what I showcased on stage that I can't give to you is 126 different businesses. There's actually 150 here. But out of 150, 126 are in the map pack. So is this an effective strategy for single service, single location? We would say so. All right. And that's what I was going through but I can't go into all of these in a public format. All right. My apologies. But you'll have the slides. If you want to narrow in and look, you could potentially. All right. The very next test that I want to showcase to you are entities. All right. There's a gentleman many, many years ago in 2000 and, oh my gosh, probably 2017. All right. A really good friend of mine went through one of his trainings. His name is Lee Witcher. He actually goes on with Ted Kabitis on SEO Fight Clubs, I believe on Wednesdays or Thursdays. Great guys. You guys should go check them out. In any case, with that being said, a friend of mine went through his training. He was putting a lot of emphasis on entities in H tags, right? Which we kind of already knew because that's a powerful place to put keywords. Why not put entities, AKA relevant terms, right? Like LSIs in our H tags. Why not? So we were already onto that. But this got us thinking a little bit more because Lee put us onto it. He's like, man, these entities, well, we were looking at density within the actual text. So here's the test that we used. And what you're going to notice when we figured this out, because this is from years back, but it's even more relevant today, and that's why I shared this test with you, is that on the left-hand side, what you're looking at is, I think I took out the slides because I was showing, I can't show client stuff, right? Not in a public format. So I took stuff out. In the conference, we shared it. In this, because I knew I was going to share it, I took out some stuff. But the long story short is this. The left-hand side is showcasing entity and LSI types. This was a very old way to pull out very common words. This was a way to look for AI content. What we figured out is we could actually get it off of GitHub and load in words to look for. And what we did is we created two separate articles, one that was highly dense with entities and LSIs, and then we fed it in. And then on top of that, we created another one that was just your regular optimized content. With that being said, just because I'm missing some slides, the one on the left, all right, was ranking page 1, and the one on the right was not. And what we quickly realized was that entity density within the body copy, not just the H tags, was wildly important. All right. Not just entity usage, people, places, things, organizations, and locations, but also co-occurring key phrases. But not just any co-occurring key phrases. When I say LSI, we're looking for co-occurring key phrases that competitors have in common with one another. What does this mean? Simplify it, Chris. When you go, every search that you do, every keyword, every service, everything that you want to do, right, has its own SERP. Each SERP has its own competitors. You can't just look at one and say, okay, that's what it is. All right. Each SERP, each keyword, each phrase has its own SERPs. You're looking at the top performers in each of your SERPs. And when you look at the top performers, what you're looking for is you're going to pull in the overall corpus of the content. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for what words have the highest density within the page. Okay. What words are words that are either going to be entity or utilized to talk about a certain subject. For instance, if we're talking about a bathroom, you would probably say water, faucet, tub, tile, right? You're with me? These are LSIs. Co-occurring key phrases could be key phrases that are known within the industry, but they keep showing up on my competition's website. So what we'll do, again, to simplify, is we'll pull in the top 10 competitors. We'll make it all into one giant corpus. And what we're looking for is repeats that are co-occurring key phrases, entities, or words that are used on more than one of the competitors' sites. For instance, let's say it said faucet fixtures, right? Faucet fixture shows up on 5 of the top 10 competitors. That's a co-occurring key phrase. You with me? So this was the beginning stages of understanding entities, co-occurring key phrases, and LSIs. We've already known since the 90s that utilizing the primary key term and key term variations was important. Then we learned about matchwords or bolded words. Then we learned about entity usage. Then we learned about entity density. Then we learned about LSIs and co-occurring key phrases. It all works together. This was the test that brought it to light. There was other results, but here you go. All right, let's move forward. Will Google rank an authority site for anything? I perhaps should have yanked this one out. This campaign is done. This is no longer my cup of tea, this type of thing. But I have dabbled. All right. So what I'm going to showcase here is what we're looking to prove out is that as long as Like what makes true authority, right? Is it the traffic, or is it the age and the trust and the referring domains, right? Like do I need an actual authoritative domain? And if I do, is this generally the case? Is this generally enough for us to rank? So here's the test, and here's what we decided to do. We decided to go into Matt's tool, all right? At the time, this was relatively popular. Of course, with advancements with AI, I got to use off-the-shelf tool sets, nothing to disparage. But with that being said, what we did is we created a straw man conversation within Zim. All right. This is Zim Writer. All right. With that being said, what we were really doing was we were creating heavily dense text, right, that felt like a conversation, but it's well optimized text. All right. Once we created this well optimized text, we wanted to take an authoritative asset that traditionally is not good. It's not going to talk about what we're going to talk about. In the particular case, it is a particular type of medicine, right? So what we did is we were able to create a straw man conversation that was heavily optimized in conversation format, put it into an authoritative asset. There's nothing more authoritative than a Google asset. And we're able to rank for things that traditionally should not rank within this type of environment. All right. Authority trumps a lot of things. We were doing this in order to figure out other niches. And really what we wanted to know is, hey, if we go buy an authoritative asset, can I, and that authoritative asset is about dog food, right? Does it really matter? Like, if it's authoritative enough, can I put whatever I want on it? And that's what we were trying to understand. All right. A second caveat to this. And the answer is, depending upon the initial backlink profile and the initial anchor text and if it has 10 years of traffic talking about dogs, plus it has a overarching amount of anchor text that says dogs, right? And it had more than, say, 50 pages on it about dogs, it's going to be hard, right, to rank that for cats. But with that being said, if you have an asset that has a long period of time, very low amount of pages with links that are either brand related, because you could flip-flop brand, or they're relatively generic, like click here, get this, buy this, right? These are assets that you can work with. True authority is built with time, right? And referring domains, external votes that look like you, all right? Hopefully that helps you out. Let's move forward. This next test, what we're talking about is, does adding schema help indexation after the HCU content update? All right. Excuse me. So this was a huge issue. People were having trouble. I think there's multiple pieces to this, but this was one of the first steps to understanding ways to keep our stuff indexed or to get it initially indexed. All right. I do believe now it's 2025, there's a little bit more to it. You need to build depth of concept. Age and page age is a huge factor. On top of that, schema types is definitely important for keeping things indexed. And then alongside of that, depending on your niche and category, it's good to build either from top down or bottom up some type of profile, author profile, a bio, about us, some imagery, some video. What else supports that you're actually an expert talking about something, right? For instance, just to give you an example, let's just say that you are a car detailer. So you have a car detailer. My homepage is whateverbrand.com/car detailing Fort Lauderdale. / we have videos about us being a car detailer. Then we have images of us doing jobs in Fort Lauderdale. On top of that, it's my team. My truck says Fort Lauderdale, right? This is images. This is also video. On top of that, the person who has written our article just so happens to be one of the experts that is also within our bio that's writing the content. But you have to take it a step further. When you go out online and you look up that name, somewhere on Google, let's just say it's Bob Smith. Bob Smith is a pressure washing or a car detailing expert. When I look up Bob Smith from Fort Lauderdale, I better start seeing some Facebook profiles, some Pinterest. There better be some profiles to back up the notion that this is an actual expert that works at this company that's been doing it. You with me? Building depth of concept is not only done with content, but it's done through schema, through video, through images. It's a push to Google. All right. I want to get back to the topic here though. All right. What I'm sharing is that we've all learned lots in the last year, right? But this was the beginning of it. And what we were looking at is, or what I quickly found out is when we were publishing PBN posts, PBN sites that had very basic information on them, right? Author bios, privacy, terms of service, things along these lines, but also had the added step of filling out certain types of schemas, such as organization, web page, main entity, this type of thing. They had a much higher probability of getting indexed and staying indexed. So I wanted to pull it out of that environment because oftentimes we're not trying to rank for high commercial intent key terms. We're trying to rank for information. So what I wanted to know was, hey, does adding schema help indexing after HCU? So here's what we did. We have 4 high commercial intent terms, all right? We had a test site. This was in the obvious financial space, all right? And what we did is we created 4 separate templates. And what I mean by templates is if you have a business that's in, say, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, all right? One of the hardest cities is Pennsylvania. So what we did is we created 4 templates targeting Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Why? That's a hard city. It's less competitive than the rest of the cities, right? So we create what is called a winning template, one for each of the primary key terms. So that would be 100, 204 pages is what we created all around a geo-modified Philadelphia. So it would be retirement pension planning Philadelphia, and then we would make all the other modified pages. You with me? Good. So what we found out, and this is just to showcase, it was just a test site. It was a test. We were trying to see how things worked. We created 204 pages. These were some filler pages that were stuck. Out of the 204, we were able to get 145, and we learned a valuable lesson from here. Every single page got indexed that should have. And here's one of the lessons that we learned from this small test, all right? If you take a look back at these key terms, all right, and I skipped over this on purpose because I wanted to come back to it, is the schema types did help things get indexed and stay indexed, but not if it didn't belong there in the first place. So if you take a look at retirement pension planning and retirement planner, what we quickly found out is that all of the terms that had to do with retirement pension planning didn't even show up. None of them, maybe 5 of them, I believe, right? So anything that was competing with itself from the door that was obviously duplicated content from the initial, right? Because retirement planner, retirement pension planner is basically the same exact content, geo-modified. It didn't even show us any love. So what did we learn from this test? All right. What we learned from this test is that schema can help get things indexed, keep things indexed. And what else we learned here was that you really need to pay close attention to what Google thinks a particular term is about. For instance, if I'm looking up retirement pension planning in Iowa and I'm looking up a retirement pensions or retirement planning in Iowa, is Google showing me the same sites, the same pages? Is it the same results? We've talked about this numerous times on this channel, but in case you have never heard me say it, make sure you're checking to see what Google thinks a SERP is about. What's the intent? What pages? What sites? Sometimes you might search for different key terms and you'll see different pages in different orders. Sort orders are wildly dependent upon page density, page age, how many links are pointing in, what's the anchor text, right? could be the same SERPs, but if this one's more optimized for pension planning and this one's more optimized for retirement pension planning, this one might rank higher for retirement, but this one's still in the same SERPs. You with me? Check and see what Google has to say. If you're seeing the same sites, same pages, I only need one page, right? 2 keywords, same sites, different sort orders. Pick the term that has more volume or a higher CPC or both. All right, let's move forward. And I'll answer any of your questions that you'll have at the very end. I'm not skipping over you. This is not a recording, it's live, but I'll answer any questions that you have at the very end. All right. So please just save them for the very, very end if you have any, but I do welcome you to the stream today. All right. Do 301s pass a penalty? This was a series of testing, and I'm waiting for my new glasses if you're wondering. But this was a series of testing. The reason for this testing, I mean, there was a lot of reasons, but the big one was we were utilizing a strategy of 301 redirects after the fact that, there was all these announcements, oh, they don't work, they're not good, they're going to hurt you, yada, yada, right? We never take things, whatever we hear, we don't just say, okay, that's gospel, we test it, all right? What we're trying to get to here is we want to know first and foremost, do these 301s pass a penalty? In order for me to convey not only to myself, to my members, but also my clients, that I am 100% sure is that I went ahead and I had a site with a penalty, one of our assets, all right? We took the site that had a penalty. This is a manual action. And in order to convey to my clients, really, and my members, that, hey, when we're buying sites for 301s, there's no need to worry that a penalty will pass if it's something we don't see, right? Because, and I'm so sure of it, that I've actually 301 redirected a penalty to my own site, right? Nothing's going to be able to convey to a actual client or a potential customer that, hey, this should be safe. There's no question. I've tested it. I did it to myself, all right? Just to see. Knock on wood. How about, do they pass power though? Because again, there was word on the interwebs that they don't pass power. Not only could they potentially pass a penalty, but they also don't pass power or a lack thereof. The second part is true. Definitely over the course of time, 301 redirectings from one to one, right, from home to home is definitely dead in the water, right? You've lost a large portion of the amount of power that you used to get years back. On top of that, I would never, ever I wouldn't buy an asset and 301 redirect it directly from the registrar over to the homepage. I have had it hurt me more times than help me from going homepage to homepage or 301 redirect every page that was previously existing over here. All the 404s, all the broken pages, all the different links, all the anchor text. No. What I would highly recommend from testing and doing this too many times is when you get an asset, all right, unless you're planning on rebuilding on it. If you're going to 301, you never 301 the whole thing. What you do is you pull up the actual site, all right, whatever the site is that, let's say you buy an expired. When you buy an expired, you pull up Ahrefs or SEMrush and you get a backlink report, not a referring domain report. When you get your backlink report, you do an export. After you take your export, you're going to take that and you're going to submit it to your favorite indexer. We have an indexer. You can come see us. What we're going to do is we want to re-index, really get those links recrawled. Once we get those links recrawled, then we are going to give it at least 14 to 30 days. And we're going to go back and we're going to double check and see how many of the links came back after we had this site, right? Are they still there? Did they fall? Did they drop? Did anything come back? Is it all gone, right? Whatever pages have the most amount of referring domains left, all right? That's the pages that we're going to redirect to the pages that we're looking to promote if they're relevant, or to supporting pieces of content, because we can always risk losing supporting pieces of content, but we can't risk losing our high commercial intent pages, right? For instance, if you're trying to rank for truck accident lawyer Los Angeles, right? I can't risk. I've had this page up for 4 years. I've been doing lots of work. I've spent lots of money on ads, right? It's on the first page, but I want to get some power to it, but I don't want to spend a bunch of money, right? Let's do the 301s. Instead of pointing it directly to that page and running risk, what you'll do is on that site, that same website, you probably have a blog, AKA a supporting content section, right? Supporting content to like, well, what does the average truck accident lawyer make? Or when should I hire a truck accident lawyer? And you're probably internally linking to your truck accident lawyer page, right? Right. So what you'll do in order to mitigate risk, you'll point it to supporting content unless that site or those pages that you're redirecting are hyper relevant. I hope you're with me. So in any case, here's a test where we were learning about passing power, and we learned a ton from this. All right. I'm trying to give you as much information as possible. So what we learned from this particular test was very simple. We had a site that was in free fall. All right. What I mean by free fall is previously they were doing, they're on page. They were doing everything by the book, but they were starting to fall. They did not have a manual action, but they were falling in traffic and in ranks. And yes, it was in a relatively gray market. All right. With that being said, what we did is we went out and we acquired domains that contained nothing but some of the very best backlink profiles. All right. What I mean by some of the very best, sites like New York Times, The Guardian, Wikipedia, Yahoo, Forbes, the creme de la creme. But these creme de la cremes were built through 301 redirects by sites that we controlled. With that being said, we spiked the overall amount of links significantly, 74%. Also spiked the referring domains 74%, 75%, right? Skyrocketed it. We were able to take this, if you take a look at this red dot here, we're able to take the site that was initially in a free fall, right? And we were able to get it out of the free fall, picking it back up. Now, it's been a long time since I talked to this gentleman, but we haven't talked again. It was a success. They would have came back if there was any issues. With that being said, did these actual 301s from assets that we controlled, that we set up exactly how I told you. We made sure they were good. We sent them to internal pages. We sent the creme de la creme, but we sent it all, right? The other stuff too, to internal pages. Did it pass power? Did it help? In this particular instance, absolutely. Now, here's another test for you, all right? Does traffic to topics, all right, this is entities, improve your maps rankings? Now, this is the one that I actually got questions about a few times from the last presentation that was, I guess the audio was horrific. Let's grab one of these, all right? Now, the test that I'm showcasing is when we first figured out about entity and entity association within the strings and how Google identifies things that are very important by giving it an entity ID. Entity IDs are given to things like images, video, not necessarily audio unless you register it, but it still has an ID. We could talk about that in another video. But images, audio, video, alongside of that, locations, businesses are given entity IDs, names are given entity IDs, but so are words and topics, all right? With that being said, what we were looking to do is we're looking to take the entity ID association from top performing businesses. And what we were doing is we were pulling out the primary entities that were associated with their review types. If a customer goes in and leaves a review, and you have more than 5 people say the same words, but they have to be entities, right? People, places, things, locations, organizations, or topics, right? What Google will do inside of Maps or Google Maps team is they'll actually make what I was calling, and I still guess what I'll call it, an entity bubble. Well, what I was doing is we were going out to figure out, hey, if I associate the top entities, AKA entity bubbles, and I take their codes, and I add them to the URL when I'm running traffic, right? Taking the most notable and relevant terms from all the leading competition, and I'm just putting it into search phrases. Basically, I'm searching for whatever business I want to rank plus a entity, right? But by code. Will this give me a positive result? Yes or no? right? Now, when you come inside of here, what you're looking at here is topic equals MID. This is an M code for a topic. The topic could be, in this case, looks like technician. All right. So what we're doing is we're taking a search result and we're adding LRD. So LRD is going to be a pop out. On top of that, we're adding a topic, which is an entity ID, and then we're pumping impressions. We wanted to know if we got a lift. All right. What I'm showcasing to you here is these are going to be results now. This was the beginning of us learning. All right. I need to point this out. All right. I'll give you some more explanation. All right. I was trying to skim past it, but I'll give you more. All right. Like I mentioned, these M codes, G codes, entity IDs are given to anything of value associated with a niche, person, place, thing, a location, an organization, or a topic, or an idea, right? One way that you can find a lot of these, but it's been depreciated, is Firebase. All right. That's where a lot of the location IDs are held. But Firebase has a new Firebase. All right. You can go and search that for yourself. There is a way to search them all and get all the codes. Or you can look at the source code inside of your SERPs. With that said, I want to point this out to you. If you have a business and you have a query, and I want to associate entities, which is really other relevant topics, relevant locations, relevant people, right? I need you to look at streets, images, image ID, ranking videos, anything that's been associated with an entity ID, right? That is ranking for the terms that are relevant to your business, right? If you're a plumber, what's relevant to your business? What are the terms? Okay. Not just terms. You can't just think of terms of words. We have to start thinking as things, as entities. What are the relevant entities, not just words, that are associated with this business and business ranking? And those are the IDs that I'm looking to attach or append to impressions. You with me? Every street, every corner, everything that's important has been given an ID. It's been tagged by Google. And that's that. All right. And this was one of the very first stages when we started learning about this. In any case, this particular business had a great result, but this was a while back. But this strategy, this impression strategy with IDs of entity, right? Associating a business with what's very important, we went on to, this has been the process forever. All right. So what I was showcasing here is, hey, we took this process of impressions and click through, and of course, proper optimization. We're taking businesses from the left to the right. All right. This is just one of them. I've shown it a few times. We manage and take care of just their GBP. I don't know if we signed them back up for this year. So maybe after this, I won't show them anymore. I'll have to go look. But here he is, pressure washing Long Island. If I go and look right now, he's probably still in the pack. All right. Here's another one in Surrey. This was a really good result before, after. All right. And then we have another one, another test. All right. I must have trimmed some of them out. All right. Associating your business to terms, entities that are relevant, at least in Google's eyes. Like associating yourself with entities, just like adding entities to your page. Like, I am this, we are this. Very, very important. All right. The next thing that I want to showcase to you was an add-on to some of the other tests that I showcased, like the 301s. Do they pass power? Do they pass penalty? What we were looking at here is, this was one of the early tests where we learned about pointing links to supporting content in order to propel high commercial intent. All right. So if we have a high commercial intent page that we can't have any risk on, how much power is passed all the way up? Now, in order to determine this, we need a barometer. We need a way to gauge the power that's been passed. In this test result, the barometer that we utilized to gauge power was Ahrefs. Okay. So what we have here is test 1, test 2, test 3. All right. You'll have the slides. You can look at it for yourself. But what we're looking at is we're building links to the pages that have the red. All right. And we wanted to know, okay, we wanted to know is if we build links to a supporting piece of content, not to the ones in red. We're building it to where it says supporting. All right, support, 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 support. If we build to support, will it power up the page that's in front of it? And what we quickly learned from this test, this was actually 4 separate tests. We tested this numerous times though. 4 separate sites, 4 separate pages, 4 separate instances. All right. What we wanted to know is if we build links here, will it pass here? How we gauged the power pass after 30 days was, did the UR of the page in front of us or what we're internally linked to, did it go up in rank? So we're building to supporting, and is it powering up the page in front of it or any page that's internally linked to? In every single instance, not only did it power up the page that you pointed to, not only did it power the page that it was right above, but any page that it was internally linked to also got a lift all the way up to the home page. The entire site got a slight lift. Now, obviously, the page that got the most lift is the page that you pointed to. But also, here's another thing we learned that's not in this test. That's why we started doubling up and varying our anchor text. See, if I just have one internal link pointing to a page, that page would get a lift. But if I have 2 links internally linking to that page with 2 varying anchor text, I got another point. Good enough for us. All right. And we actually proved it out 4 times, and that was this test. Now, what I am showing here was this was actually a relatively recent site that all we did was increase the overall internal link flow because they had poor internal link flow to their high commercial intent products that they were trying to sell. So what we did is we actually set up internal links with varying anchor text going to those pages. And what we wanted to know was, well, if we do this, we know it passes power, but does it increase traffic? And hey, will it still work in 2024, 2025, right? So here we go. We're optimizing A tags for high commercial intent terms, and we are putting them in the most relevant places to put internal links: head, foot, and body. All right. Now, what I'm outlining here is I'm outlining where we are putting them. So on this particular website, there's photos, and then there's titles, and then there's a description with a link. So image, title, description with a link. That's 3 internal links, 3 separate anchor texts pointing to the same page. You with me? Now, what I'm showcasing here is drop downs. These drop downs, this is the heading, all right, or the header, and this is the navigation menu. And again, we're putting it to the primary page that produces dollars for the business owner, and we're utilizing a variation of the anchor text. Again, moving into the footer, site-wide, just like the head, we are putting in the terms that matter for the products that matter using varying anchor text: head, body, foot. So what we did essentially is 1, 2, 3, 6 new anchor texts, right? Essentially pointing to all the pages from the homepage to the pages that matter. Now, I'm not saying you have to go bananas like this, but this particular gentleman, I believe why we started to deploy this was not only did he have poor internal link flow, but also a lot of links pointing just to the homepage. We wanted to push those internal pages. So what we did is we filled all of this out. We also added what is called a sidebar. All right. Inside of the sidebar, what we were doing is we were putting, again, varying anchor text going to the pages that matter. Sidebars are body text. It's considered body. All right. Inside of these little pop-outs, or these accordion pop-outs, these arrows, I guess, there was drop downs again pointing to those pages. Like I said, we're pointing 6, maybe more, depending on what it was. Depends on how many variations we had of anchor text. Like we went ham here. All right. So with that being said, what we wanted to point out was the initial or the start campaign, 8-1. Okay. So here's where we started. So this was on 8-1. He had 1.48 and then 3.19. So that's 1. And then when we start taking a look at impressions, here's 1. So 1.48, 75,000. When we came back after our campaign, we waited. You could see we waited. We could have waited longer, but it was so pronounced so fast, we took the screen. All right, screenshot. So you could see almost doubled the amount of clicks, high commercial intent clicks, and then the overall impression skyrocketed. Why? Because those pages just started going right up in rank. All right. So internal link float. Not only do we know that link power, right? External equity can be passed through internal links, but also we can also help rank those. You're optimizing a page for one keyword, but by sending internal anchor text to that page for varying key terms, and as long as that page says it on the page, because even though you're optimized for one key term, you're trying to rank for a bunch, right? So I'm sending external links in with varying anchor text that all mean the same thing, but also internal links with varying anchor text all meaning the same thing. What ends up happening is that page ranks for everything it should, right? Because I have external votes coming in saying, hey, that's what this page is about, plus internal passing to the pages that are most important for all types of varying anchor text. Pages perform resoundingly better. Moving on. Here we're talking about RU links. All right. So again, acquisition of backlinks can become costly. All right. So what we wanted to know, plus on top of that, they're not always relevant to category. When we started doing this testing, we realized that category matters more than where the TLD initiates from or originates. Yes, I want to get links from my home country, wherever you're from, but it doesn't trump relevance, nor does it trump relevance of the link itself, surrounding text, the anchor, the title, numerous factors, right? So what we wanted to look at here was if we start building in these RUs, and as long as they're within the category, right? What I mean by this is when you look at your top performers and you go into, say, SEMrush or Majestic or Ahrefs, under each backlink is the category of link. What this is describing is the link graph. And these tools didn't make this up. Google made this up. And how we know this is if you go look at AdSense's original documentation of how sites are classified, the classification crosses over to the link graph. All right. So we're looking for sites, AKA links, right, in this particular instance, that are within the top 10 or top 5 categories that our competition has, right? Like boats and automotive, home and construction, these types of categories, right? So as long as it's in one of the top performing categories and it's an RU, will this hurt me? I don't know. So here's what we did. We built 152 of them. And I took out the slide for the site of who it was because I cannot share that. But we built 152.ru, all right? Varying categories, okay? Because our competition was all over the board. They had all kinds of stuff. I believe it was in the law niche, all right? But we built 152 of these. I believe to 2 separate pages, I believe, all right? Again, I took those slides out, but here's what we looked at, all right? So in July, all right, this was the before and after, all right? So here's July, because we didn't build 152 all at once. So we had 17,000, all right, in the top 100. We had 17,911 key terms, all right, overall that were in the top 100. After building in our backlinks, right, no optimizations. I mean, this is a link campaign for pages that are performing relatively well. We're looking to see, does it hurt us? Does it go up? Does it go down? When we look back in October, we had 19,465 key terms that were in the top 100. All right. And if you take a look at the top 3, we started off with 723 and then we ended with 947. All right. Now the 4 through 10 didn't go up that much. What did is that 21 through 50, we just started bringing in more terms, more term variations, and we got more pages into the top 10. Very important. All right. So did they hurt us in this particular instance? No. But what I have to mention to you, though, is be very particular on your diversities, right? Like if you have 10 USA, if you're a business in USA and you have 10 USA links and then the rest are RU, you may run into some issues, right? There has to be diversity. On top of this, be very careful or critical on the category of link. Okay, look at your top competitors, figure out what categories they're in, and that's the link graph you buy into. All right. Most people are segmenting niche based upon words that are on the pages. No, category or link graph is not determined based solely on the words. It's more importantly on external votes coming in when we're talking about the link graph, because I need relevant content. Yes, I need relevant pages. I need relevant traffic, right? We already know all that. The end piece that you need is a relevant category of link pointing back to you, right? If I'm construction and maintenance, I need construction and maintenance links, or I need links that are in those similar categories. All right. Does Google strip metadata from GBP images? Early on, we used to take our time to add geo details to the images. I spoke to numerous business owners taking all types of extra steps, adding in not only geo-relevant information, but also other metadatas and XMP data, all types of stuff. So here's what we did. We actually got a tool, and it had 100 different EXIFs, XMPs, ITCs, XMP. It had geolocation, camera, geotags, everything. Over 100 different inputs. All right. Well, we filled them all out, every single one of them. What we did after that is we uploaded it, and I tested everything. Owner uploaded, user uploaded. We did it on YouTube, Google. We did it all over the place. And then we downloaded the images back, and then we ran it through the checker to see, after we upload and re-download, how many of the different tags are still left. In this particular instance, inside the GBP, right? When you uploaded 120 of them, I believe, I think I took that one out. If you take a look at the ones that are left, you have file, you have your image types, right? You see here, there's no key terms, right? EXIF, there's one of them, Chris Palmer, Google, Chris Palmer, Chris Palmer, XMP, Google, Chris Palmer, Chris Palmer, Chris Palmer. The term that we were utilizing was Chris Palmer. And then composite, all right? We have our sizes. Unfortunately, in this particular space, now there are places to pack in geo details, right? But the places that take it like where it's supposed to be get stripped. That would mean that you have to force it into sections that it doesn't belong, like in comments or in image comments or in file permissions, or you would have to stick it inside the artist or software. These are places that geolocation or geoinformation shouldn't exist. Now, in understanding this, it's wildly important to understand the things that are taken, right? Like Google actually reads, because we know what they read based upon what's left when we get it back, right? Is it still there? So if you're trying to build an entity around a business, or perhaps a perceived expert that writes your content, and you're creating images and video, and you're doing all this extra work to build up a profile to be an expert so you have better content rate rankings. If you have images, take note from this test, all right? It's very good at building up entity relationships, but as far as for maps rankings, you're spinning your wheels, all right? Enough about that. Let's move on to the last piece, I think, which is page age. Is page age the number one factor? All right. I did a slew of testing on, is traffic the metric? Is links the metric? Is age the metric? Is page age the metric? And this test is where we uncovered that page age is the most important factor. All right. So how we did this is we didn't want to just pick anything. So we went out and we searched for information regarding the most expensive or highest CPC values based upon niche, right? Things like insurance, loans, mortgage, attorney, credit, lawyers. Like these are $40 a click, $50 a click, very high competition key terms. The next thing that we did is we wanted to know, now that we have the hardest phrases or the hardest niches, where's the biggest and hardest cities? New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philly, San Antonio, right? Hardest niches in the hardest cities. What we wanted to know, and here's the terms that we decided to test: personal injury lawyer in LA, car accident lawyer Dallas, chiropractor Fort Worth, dentist Miami, dentist Phoenix, right? You could see the list here. Hardest niches, hardest cities. What we did is we started pulling in, first we pulled in overall domain, then we started pulling in page rank, right? And what we noticed in a lot of these times is that homepages were ranking. The pages that it was internal page, we pulled that up as well. And on average, and I believe that there was more, I must have trimmed them off. We were looking at the home pages that were ranking for these terms, and we were looking at internal pages that were ranking for these terms, amongst many others. And what we quickly found out is that the average site, on average, is 13 years old. And then the average page age, if it's an internal page, was 4 years old. When we started looking at, I started going ham, and plus my helpers, the other testers, then we just started picking out pages. So it's not a home page, it's an internal page. Checking way back, hey, when was this established? This is when we figured out that, hey, the overall page's age is the triumphant factor. On top of that, it's always in most of these big cities, 3 to 4 years old. Almost every single time. Like, you have to wait. The only time that you're able to beat that page age is if I'm already in the link graph and I have an over-exceeding amount of brand search, right? Do I have a bunch of people looking for me? Is there some type of interest in my brand associated to the niche that I'm in? This is the only time I see players that don't meet the age requirement. They have links, but they don't have as many as the others. These are the only times that you're able to get up there without having the other factors. All right. Hopefully this has been helpful. I'm Chris Palmer. This is how you reach me. I'll answer any of your questions that you might have. All right. We'll pull those up right here. All right. And we'll say hello. Hello, man. Hello to you. Peony says, hey, please show an example website that's ranking first locational by implementing all the SEO and has good design that performs in GBP. I'm creating my new roofing website. So you're looking for a roofing website. Each SERP, each location can be different. So in your case, I don't know where you're from, but we know you're roofing. I don't know where you're from. Whatever state you're in, go to your biggest city and take a look. If you're looking for design elements, or if you're looking for, what are they ranking for? What are they getting? Also, on top, I want you to take this into consideration. If you know your services, think of what's your bread and butter. Lay those pages in as your top level pages. And then by looking in the cities that you want to go into, look and see who's ranking where you want to be, and actually pull their site in the SEMrush. How much traffic are they actually getting from those terms? If you take design elements from the highest performers, and then you take the services that are the bread and butter, along with that, only the cities that actually produce traffic, and you only implement that on your site, you'll have a much smaller site. You know it's well designed, good at converting, because you can see your competition, and then you're only targeting key terms that actually generate traffic. This will help you out immensely, massively. I always see people pick an area and then just run with it. Not wise. Now, I don't know if that answers your question exactly, but it's wildly dependent upon your area. All right. As far as structure is concerned, take a look at your SERPs. Look at your SERPs. What's being rewarded? Flat sites, hard silos, directories, like what's being rewarded. Then after that, what do you do? But don't build location plus service pages for everything, only the bread and butter at first. I hope that helps you. Hello to you. I have broken ChatGPT, Black Hat SEO methods. Google wants us to know. Okay. Okay. Thanks. I'm not into this stuff anymore. I didn't read through all of these, but like anything that crosses the proverbial line, I just don't do it anymore. That's not my main goal. My main goal is to propel small, medium, and large businesses, right? Anything that I'm testing, I'm looking for long-term repeatable results. That's it, right? I'm looking to get an edge and an advantage over my competition as long as it's within the guidelines. Not Google's guidelines, the guidelines. So yeah. And also too, I'll add something else. Like cloaked content switching and this kind of stuff can be very, very fun. What I have found from past years is that oftentimes when you're doing these types of things, it's negative in, negative out, right? And on top of that, no matter what you find, it's usually short-lived. Now, there's pieces that you can learn from learning and deploying time by doing this, but it changes too fast. You always get the rug pulled out from under you. And on top of that, negative in, negative out. It's not for me, man. But some of that stuff we might talk about. More than SEO. Regarding the ID pop-out URLs, could you give some more detail on CTR or links you're sending to make the Maps grid view show such improvements? Thank you for some of your help. Sure. Yes. Keep that one there. We'll keep going here. I'll show you some examples if you would like. That's not an issue. Will this video have subtitles? Yes, but give it a day or so Google can generate them. Okay. Became a member. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that immensely. Hey, Chris, thanks a lot for your help with Google Business Profiles. One question, though. Why do my images keep getting rejected? I have web design business and they're just screenshots of my websites. Could be for any number of reasons. Size issues, time of day you're doing it, maybe too many all at once. Could be words being misinterpreted within the image itself. Could be images misinterpreted within the image itself, or the image itself could just be misinterpreted thinking that it exists somewhere else. There's any number of reasons. I've heard all different types of stuff. I've gotten blocked for all kinds of stuff. I would keep trying, pay close attention to the actual image itself. Take a look at that. Try just text. Try the size. It could be any number of reasons, though, honestly. All right. The time of day, like how many you're doing all at once. Could be anything. Screenshots of what we've made, and you're uploading them to Google? One question, though. Why do my images keep getting rejected? Yeah, again, it could be the size. It could be for any number of reasons. Like, there's not just one, like, okay, that's the thing. It could be anything. What's in the images, the words in the image, the size of the image, it could be anything. Hey, Chris, hope you are doing well. Can these principles be used for ranking Google business profiles too? I'm not sure where you're speaking of precisely, but most of the time, the fundamentals or the principles are exactly what you'll use to rank Google Business Profile. More than SEO, regarding the auto accident example, if we're in the top 3 rankings for the suburbs around the larger cities with newer pages, then how can we get closer for the main city? So if we are in the top 3 organic rankings for the suburbs around those larger cities with newer pages, then how can we get closer in the main city? Okay, fair enough. Well, does the main city page exist? Do you have a top level page? For instance, let's say that it's in Texas. So I have a Texas page that's targeting a specific key term. I then am targeting the neighborhoods or towns, I would hope towns, cities, and then the big cities. You said suburbs, which I hope that's not what you're doing. Creating hundreds of pages targeting suburbs. See, what we like to do is create one city page and then figure out, well, how many towns or suburbs can we talk about within this main city page that Google thinks is the same thing, right? And then what we're looking to do is maximize the amount of location information that we put into that city page in order to hit all of the neighborhoods and little towns, all right? So maybe elaborate on that question just a little tiny bit, but let's just say, for instance, firstly, all right, do you already have that city page in the main city? Are you linking from those other smaller neighborhood pages up to that city page, right? Do you have any competing terms? Have you looked at the city page that already exists and then inside of Search Console and looked under pages to see if you have any competing pages? How about competing pages within the towns or cities? You should be able to find that in Search Console. Create the page, build your links, wait your time, push traffic, but more importantly, see if you can combine neighborhoods or suburbs or counties within your primary city pages, right? Less is more usually. I hope that helps you out, or I hope that answers your question. Hope you're doing well. Wanted to ask, does this traditional SEO backlinks apply to GBP? Traditional backlinks in the sense of PR, citations, directories. Like I need digital reference points online to reference this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is where I'm at. I'm also pointing to my actual asset from there, right? So if I'm inside my press release, am I embedded over? Right? It's not like I'm taking all of these link types and just pointing them to the GBP. No, I'm mentioning the exact same thing that I talk about on my site and my GBP, but I'm also referencing static URLs that are in the GBP and utilizing these traditional types of SEO backlinks in order to point to those static assets, such as we would want to go to the KGMID. We would want to embed our main URL. We would want to build links from other assets that get traffic to the main URL of our maps listing, right? Any static URL that doesn't change that anybody or everyone can get to, right? It can't just be like a CID or some odd URL that's a share link or a dynamic link. A static URL that never changes that anyone can get to. This is what we share around the web. All right. But I would not go out of my way building links to these. Like that is not what we do. Regarding the 301 method you mentioned, after you do your process of reindexing the best page links, do you prefer to 301 with HTA access on the root folder, or you just test, or are your tests preferring other methods? That's exactly what we're doing. We are. We will generally, depending on what links, how many links, let's just say that like from the tests, directly from an actual setup asset, we're going to redirect those pages individually, right? It might cost a little more, but it's better in the long run. If you're going to throw one redirect the entire site, do it to an internal page that you don't mind losing, all right? How do you feel about boosting GMB profiles with purchased reviews? Is it common? Does it work? So there's purchased, not purchased, organic, organic. At the end of the day, there's one deciding factor, and that does Google recognize the review? If Google doesn't trust something, they won't show it, right? So if it's not trusted, it's not showed. Okay, so whether you're also on top of that, even business owners that are only solely getting organic, authentic reviews, oftentimes they don't show. And they know without a shadow of a doubt they're authentic. But Google's the end decider. So if Google doesn't show real ones and you know they're real, Google doesn't show fake ones and you know they're fake, or vice versa, right? However you acquire references, right, from outside sources, as long as Google trusts it, then I think it could be very, very helpful for your business. Yes, getting reviews that Google rewards is helpful for your business for sure. Hopefully that helps you out. Thank you. Your suggestion on auto accident lawyer city page method versus individual suburb specific pages with suburb specific content like auto accident news and date will make the changes. There you are. If a client's GBP has some great reviews with traffic keywords and even cities mentioned by the happy clients, what link building and or CTR do you recommend for those review specific URLs, if any? All right. Has some good reviews with traffic key terms. Cities are mentioned. All right. So inside the GBP, like I showed in the test, entity bubbles are generated when numerous business owners say specific terms multiple times, right? With that said, they're taking into account and or trust reviews from outside members more than they would us leaving a a response to their review, right? It's almost like those words don't even get credit, right? I've never found that it does. The only thing that matters for the response is, did you respond within 24 hours? With that being said, there's two places that you can get those pop-outs. Like if you click it and look at the URL, you'll find the entity bubble URLs, right? And then you'll get the main contributor URLs. When sending traffic or looking to influence these types of URLs, right? Those two specifically, because that's what you're asking me about. In order to push traffic and have it be effective, the traffic has to refer or initiate from somewhere, right? Like if you're just sending direct, I didn't test this, but just gauging on the response within the profile. If I grab all those URLs and just start running traffic, neutral result. However, if those URLs are found on the web, right? Most notably found on the web on a ranking page in the top 100 and then are clicked and followed through to the asset, you have a much better result. So to answer your question, you're looking to grab those URLs that are associated to the profile from the review section is great because they're static, right? We're grabbing those static URLs and we're also sharing them because that's what business owners do in order to get seen, crawled, stay indexed, past relevance, and also push traffic through. And that's highly effective. And I hope that helps you out. Now, back to your question up here. ID pop-out URLs. Could you give some more detail or links you're sending to make map grid view show such improvements? Okay, now note, it's no one thing that ever shows the improvements. It's a series of optimizations and time that shows improvement, all right? Also, I want to add, if I get a business that just started a week ago, the probability of us wanting to, like, unless they have a clear understanding that this is going to take a significant period of time, we only want businesses that have been around, like they have a GBP, they've been making posts, they're in the top 20 for their primaries, like they're on their way. We're looking to dump gas on the fire. With that said, the order of business is quite simple. I'll get into your question here, but we're optimizing the profile generally around one thing, whatever their primary bread and butter is. We're then optimizing their products and services around that one thing. We're optimizing their posting schedule around that one thing. We're optimizing their offers and their events around that one thing, right? And then we're optimizing their updates around that one thing. The next piece that we're going to do is we're going to optimize their head, foot, body, their homepage, the page that is connected to the GBP around that one thing in brand, right? It's clear and evident in A tags that here's who we are, here's what we do, here's our pages for primary service, and here's our pages for our location, right? Right. Now, when we're talking about this question specifically, could you give some more detail on the CTR or links? Now, we have our Google business profile. There's a wild difference between an impression, all right? And then there's a difference between an actual click or an interaction within the profile. There's only so many interactions that can be done within a profile, all right? So when we're running impressions, I'm looking to associate the brand, all right, with locations, all right? Locations or topics. Furthermore, let's just say this, all right? Let's say that you're in Fort Lauderdale, all right? If I'm in Fort Lauderdale and I head out here to Maps, okay, and I right click here and I come inside of here, view page source, all right? I go here, I do Control F /M/, okay? This right here is the M code, the Firebase entity ID for Fort Lauderdale, but it gets deeper. So you have your URL, that's your business, and I'm looking to associate this location to my business. But it's more than that, right? Because not only am I in Fort Lauderdale, but I'm also looking for, okay, Durs. Durs is a town or a neighborhood. I'm just pulling out one, okay? Durs, unless it's wasn't classified. I highly doubt. Okay. DERS has an entity ID. That's another impression. Okay. But it gets deeper. Each and every street has an entity ID, right? Each county entity ID, city entity ID. But then let's take this a step further. When we start looking up, let's just take our example. What were we doing? Let's just say it's pressure. All right. So pressure, washing, and we're in Fort Lauderdale. Okay. Ranking businesses. Okay. If we start looking at their updates, inside their updates, you can find topics. Okay. Also, inside of ranking businesses, if you come in here to reviews, you can also find topics. You with me? Each of these topics, right here, or if you take a look at this, prices, okay? So that person has an entity ID. There's one. I hope you're following me so far. But now let's look up this word here. What was it? Was it prices? If I remember correctly. Okay. Prices. Okay. If we go searching inside of this code, you'll find entity ID. Now you can speed all this stuff up. All right. If you want to do this a lot quicker, you can look up. All right. This way you can gather stuff up a lot faster. They have updated the database. There's new databases. This way you can get all of the entity IDs for locations and other information, right? They have a new updated version that you can get entity IDs. But then for topics, you can also get that. All right. Now what we're looking to do is we're looking to append and or associate. I'm just going to use an example. Okay. I'm looking to associate those codes that I just shared with you. Google understands what they are. So I'm looking to take my knowledge panel plus the knowledge panel or the entity ID information from a location, surrounding locations, streets, counties, words even, right? Or topics, and this topics too. And I'm looking to do this. All right. And that'll be it for me. All right. So if we have PSI, here's our PSI boy. We're going to grab him, copy, bring him over. Here, we got to look up the name because I need it to pop his panel. Hopefully they know who he is, and they do. Now you can go about this numerous ways, but let's just take this. All right. If you come down here, here's his knowledge panel ID. This is a G code. This is also an entity ID. Okay. Now, if we come inside of here, here's your entity ID. You can append and here and location, right? That's it. But all I'm trying to do is I'm associating my brand, my business to all of these locations. More importantly, this county, but more importantly, these streets, more importantly, these towns, more importantly, these neighborhoods. My brand plus these locations, my brand plus these words, my brand plus anything that's hyper relevant to location or what I'm trying to rank for. That plus running clicks to where you actually there's a conversion action. What's a conversion action? Click to call, save, website, right? Clicking here, engaging into, this is a conversion action. If I click on write a review, conversion action. If I come down here and I look at this, I got a pop-up, that was a conversion action. If I engage with this, conversion action. If I share, conversion. You with me? All right. All right. So I'm going to go home now. I'm going to walk across the street. If you'd like the slides from today's presentation, check out SEOmastermind.org, www.seomastermind.org. Click on free up at the very top because I just added it. Same exact, I changed the thing slightly. Learn SEO. This one right here, it's free. You could have it, okay? It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate your time. We'll scroll down just a tad here. Chris, good to see you. Crewman, good to see you. Product and mention. Need help with your business? You can if you would like. Absolutely. chrispalmer.org. And I think we got everyone. All right. I think we talked to everyone. For clients, GBP serves 20 suburbs. All right. We talked about it all. We're at our hour mark. It's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.